Many of you guys have been asking me about my process for hiring writers and how to find a good writer to help you get more content up on your site. And I'd say that's by far the most important thing you can do as soon as you start seeing any sort of income from Zoic or Amazon or an affiliate network or whatever. So let me share a few tips with you and let me tell you how I find good writers, how much I pay them, how I keep them engaged on my sites, and just my best tips in general on how to find good writers. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, do that below because I have a lot of tips coming out for you guys every week. So let me start by talking about where I find the writers. I used to go to Upwork. Upwork is a great place to find any freelancer you need for designing a logo or helping you get content or whatever you need a freelancer for. As I've shared with you guys a couple of times here on the channel, I have moved away from Upwork and now I find my writers on ProBlogger. So the reason for that is that Upwork is, it's a great platform and all, but as soon as you start getting a bigger team and if you have like 5 or 7 or 10 writers down the line, it's just a very, very tedious platform to work with because you have to provide feedback, set up milestones, and every time you need to pay a writer, there are so many steps you need to go through. So I ended up spending way too much time just getting everything right with the platform instead of actually getting work done. And over with ProBlogger, it's kind of different because you just put up a job post and then people apply and work directly with you and not on the platform. So that's the biggest difference. With Upwork, they want you to work on that platform, so to speak, you hire people and you work and engage with them on that platform. But over on ProBlogger, you just find a good writer and then they work with you directly. They can invoice you on PayPal or whatever you want to do, and then they just write directly onto your site. That's what I do with all my writers. They get a profile on my site after I've done some initial testing to find out that they are actually any good. Then they write directly into WordPress. So it's less editing time for my editor in order to get it up on the site. And as for the hiring process, I usually just put up this job post on ProBlogger and then I'll have around 100 applicants. And after reading through the applicants, it's maybe 20 writers that we actually give a shot with one paid test article. And when we see that test article, we can quickly sort out at least half of it. And we'll probably try and give 5 or 7 or 8 of these writers free additional test articles on various topics in order to see if they can do proper research and if they have a good tone of voice and if it's just in general a good fit for our site. And then after a while, maybe one writer will leave and we'll probably end up with 2 or 3 writers out of a job post that gave us 100 applicants. So that's some numbers to think about before you put up a job post. And a good tip here, if you want to find writers who actually have experience with the niche or the topics you want them to write about, ask for that experience directly in the job post. And I like to let them know that any experience they have is a big plus, but that they don't need to have experience. Because by doing so, I get more honest applications where they might actually be honest about what experience they have. And as you go over the applications, you can quickly see if they actually know what they're talking about. And many times you will find people who have a ton of experience within the niche. I've found some really, really awesome specialists who know everything about the niche that I'm in, way more experience than I had in those niches, even after writing a bunch of articles myself. So that's a great way to do it. And then of course you need to test them, as I told you before. Give them one article first as a test article, and if they do well, I like to give them 3 additional test articles. And then after 4 or 5 test articles, I will know exactly if they're any good, if they can do proper writing, good grammar, good sentence structures, and if they work well with feedback also. That's another thing you need to test. Give them some good feedback on the first couple of articles and see if they actually adjust their writing according to your feedback, because that's really important. You need to find writers who are able to take feedback and get better at it as you work with them over time. And also remember to always check for plagiarism. You don't want any content on your site that is copy-pasted from other websites, because that might give you a penalty in Google if they see that you have what we call duplicate content. So you can do this with Grammarly, and my editor is running all our content through Grammarly for 2 reasons. One, of course, to check all the grammar and the spelling and so on, and also in order to check for plagiarism. So that's important because some writers are lazy and they will just copy paste stuff from around the web into an article, and that's important. They might also do so without having any bad intentions, you know. Maybe they just copied a large section about a product or some specifications or something like that. So always do that. So how much should you actually pay your writers? I pay 2 cents per word for most of my writers. And that also means that I work with green writers without a ton of experience. The first thing I do is to check that they are good at spelling and they have good grammar and they have that sort of that tone of voice that I like. I like to work with writers who have a very natural flow and who like to explain things just like they were talking to a good friend or a family member or something like that. And if they don't have a ton of experience within the niche that they're working in, for me, I just start by giving them 20 or 30 articles on very, very light topics. I mean, very beginner-oriented questions or topics. And after they have done that research and they have written those articles, they can move on to the more advanced stuff, because now they will know about the niche after they have done like 20 or 30 basic articles. If you want to pay your writers around 2 cents per word like I do, you need to be awesome to work with, because after a while, when they get some experience, they might want to work with another publisher where they can get maybe 3 or 4 cents per word. But the way I try to keep my writers on my team is that I always pay promptly. As soon as I see an invoice from a writer, I pay immediately, so they don't have to check their account to see if I paid the invoice and so on. That's nice. I've worked as a freelancer myself for many years, and I know how frustrating it can be if you need to check your bank account again and again just to see if they actually paid the invoice. So after working with me for a while, they know I always pay immediately, and I also try to just develop a bit of a relationship with them so they know a bit about me. They know that I'm traveling full-time right now and running this publishing company, and they know that I have a son named Max, and they know what I like to do when I'm not working. I also like to ask a few personal questions. When you get to know your writers, you'll quickly get a sense of if they like to get to know you on a more personal level, or if they're more reserved and they like to not engage in that type of conversation with you. So just get a feel for that, and if they're up for it, I would say definitely check in with them on a video call once in a while, so you can get that personal relationship, because that will keep them on your team much longer. Another good tip I have for you is to always give very clear instructions to your writer. I have worked with many publishers over the years, and many times people will just give a writer a topic, you know, just basically just the headline, and ask them to create epic content. And that's very tough for a writer, because they have no idea about what you want and how you want the formatting and what's the tone of voice you're aiming for, and just in general, how do you want them to do research and stuff like that. So before you hire the first writer, sit down and write sort of an introduction to the writer, so they will know exactly what tone of voice, how to do research, how you want the article to be laid out, and so on and so on. And here you can also ask your writers to use Grammarly, so you know that all the sentences are correct and the spelling have been checked and so on. And in those guidelines you can also provide a few links to articles on your site that you really like, so they can see how you want everything laid out. I hope you like these tips. Remember to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. So thank you guys for watching this video almost all the way to the end. I have a little bit of pretty cool bonus information for you in this video. So in a week from now, so next Friday, Ezoic will open up to 200 applicants who can get accepted on their site with no minimum traffic requirements. So let's say you have a brand new site, or you're just starting a website today, you'll be able to get into Ezoic from the get-go, and you don't have to wait until you have a certain amount of traffic. That's pretty cool. They call it just start or just launch or something like that, but I'll have more information about that in a week, so look out for that video. So the rules are like this: you will have your site accepted first, obviously, so they are allowed to show ads on your site, meaning that you show Ezoic that you're not violating any Google ad policies and stuff like that. So let's say you get accepted, then you'll have to complete a 3-step course, so 3 tiny courses that will teach you how to set up this thing. And if you complete those courses, you'll get into Stoic and you'll be able to put on ads on your site from scratch. So this is sort of a pilot program Stoic is doing to see if this is a direction they want to move in the future, I assume. And if you're wondering where I am right now, I'm in front of a beautiful castle, half an hour north of Copenhagen. We're still locked into Denmark on our RV trip after now RVing for 8 or 9 weeks. So because of this whole pandemic situation, of course. But eventually we'll get down into Germany and start moving south in Europe. And I'll have more information about that. I just wanted to show you this really beautiful castle that we've been checking out the last couple of days. So see you guys.